Hey, good morning, guys. It's nice and cool, or it's at least starting to be cool in the mornings. It's been a while, and I can't say it's because I haven't wanted to offer some encouragement for you guys, but I'm as guilty as the next. For I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, and then life happens. It's not an excuse on my part. It's just the truth. It's just me being honest. I'm big on being real. Small Town Sunday, we're big on being real with folks, and that's just real. I'm just as guilty as the next guy for saying I'll do it later, and then later never comes. But with the 30 days of hope for North Carolina, that the campaign, so to speak, that we've started, taking the donations and things of that nature, I think there comes a point in time where we all need to be reminded that no, I can't sit and tell you that I know what it's like, that I know what you're going through, that I know the hurt and the sense of loss and the grief and the uncertainty and the utter terror that some folks are facing, knowing that everything is gone. I couldn't imagine standing on a rooftop or trying to climb to the highest point I could and watching any of my family, let alone my 5-year-old, get swept away. I can't imagine that. And anybody that tells you they know what you're going through, unless they have specifically been in the exact 100% verbatim circumstances, they don't know. I think a lot of people say that because they don't know what to say and they don't know how to relate. And they say, well, I understand what you're going through. The truth is you don't. And the truth is I don't. But I think this goes well beyond red or blue political affiliation. I think it just needs to be humanitarian. And I think if folks would just see that we're just trying to get back to the business of loving people and helping people the way we were taught. Anyway, that's another soapbox for another day. So Matt, if you don't know how it feels, then why are you offering hope? Because there is. And this is a Holman Christian Standard Bible. I love it. There's so many just extra things in here. You can really just explore God's Word, and it's incredible. I'm sorry that it's not the King James Version. If that offends you, I'm sorry. But anyway, in Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 8, verse 18, it says, when Jesus saw a large crowd around him, he gave the order to go to the other side of the sea. And a scribe approached him and said, Teacher, I will follow you everywhere you go. And Jesus told the man, foxes have dens and birds have the sky and have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Lord, another of his disciples said, First let me go bury my father. Jesus told him, Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. But as he got in the boat, his disciples followed him. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a violent storm arose on the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by the waves. And Jesus kept sleeping. So the disciples came and woke him up, saying, Lord, save us, we're going to die. They were desperate. He said to them, Why are you afraid? Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. There's a couple things I want you to know about this. First of all, it said that the disciples followed him into the boat. It didn't say he followed the disciples. Jesus was getting in the boat because he had demanded that, or he had said that they're going to the other side. Jesus got in the boat, and his disciples followed him. I think the first time, or the first thing at this point in time that we have to realize is that they were still kind of unsure about who this man was. If you go back and read about if you go and read, I believe it's in the book of Mark, if you go and read about feeding the 5,000, it says at the end of that passage there that their hearts were hardened, and their hearts were hardened were not an unbelief thing, and this can't be real, and this is not who he says it. And I had to research this for myself, but when it says their hearts were hardened, it was because they didn't understand spiritual things. It was just something else they had to be able to start learning how to comprehend. So in this passage, they didn't even really know who he was, but they followed him. He got in the boat, and his disciples followed. And then, of course, it says out of nowhere, a storm came, a violent storm arose on the sea. If you know anything about storms around the sea, of course we all know that hurricanes form over the sea, and how violent and how destructive and how just incredibly unreal those things can become. This storm formed over the sea. So much so that the boat was being swamped, engulfed, consumed by the waves. And it says, but Jesus kept sleeping. And something that jumped out at me on this page was not only was he in the boat, but it said the boat was being swamped, which means the water was coming overboard. Now, this wasn't a luxury cruiser. This wasn't some big yacht. More than likely, it was a fishing vessel of sorts. Which means he was in the water. Which means everything was coming against him too. The water was coming in the boat. It was being covered up. So not only was he in the boat, but the waves and the things were crashing into him too. But what does it say? It says he kept sleeping. So then the disciples came and woke him up and said, hey, we're going to die, man. You know, we're going to die here. What are you doing? We're going to die right here in the middle of what you told us to do, in the middle of where you told us to be. We're going to die. And he said to them, why are you afraid? Oh, you of little faith. There's something that I want you to realize about that, and that's in red. Those words are in red. Why are you afraid, oh ye of little faith? He knows that those men were following him and didn't even know much about him. So they couldn't have great big faith. He knew they had small faith, little faith. But then it said he got up. Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea. And there was a great calm. So I want you to know that if you'll just take off and follow him, even though you don't know much about him. That in the middle of life's storms, when you're being covered up, and your vessel, whatever vessel you're rowing in, when it starts getting swamped, broken up, and completely overrun, and you think it might be better just to abandon ship, Snowy's in the boat with you. And just know that if you'll trust him, and that doesn't mean having it all figured out, y'all. That does not mean having everything in order. I saw a thing that said, you know, people talk about having all your ducks in a row and having your ducks in a row. At this point, I don't even know where they're at, and probably most of them are in the back of a cop car somewhere. It don't mean having it figured out. But if you'll follow him and have faith, even if it's just a little bit, you'll be faithful to calm the storm, I promise you. And it said that there was a great calm. You have to think, even though they were amazed and astonished and probably scared and confused all at the same time, but grateful that the storm was over. There was a great calm that came over them, I'm sure. Now, it doesn't specifically say that. This is just an exaggerated, maybe, assumption at best of mine. But you have to understand that one minute you're in the middle of it, not knowing, am I living, am I dying? Is the battle in here, is it ever going to stop? Am I ever going to get where I'm going? And then all of a sudden it's calm. There's going to be a calm that hits you too. And I think maybe, even though we may not understand and we might not know how, maybe the prayer is, Jesus, just calm me. Let me be calm. Give me the kind of calm and the kind of peace that you had to be able to sleep in a boat when everything's crashing in. I don't know what you're going through. Western North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I don't know what you're going through physically. But I want you to know that Jesus is the hope. And he loves you. And I will not sit here and tell you that it will be sunshine and rainbows if you choose to follow him. I can't tell you that physically in this life, everything goes back to just the way it was. As a matter of fact, Jesus said that you'll be persecuted for following me. You'll be ridiculed. But he said, do not be afraid, because I've overcome all of it. Just have a little faith and get in the boat with him and let him bring peace to you. We love you. Hey, we'll see you guys tonight. Those of you that can make it in Cramerton, North Carolina, First Baptist Church, Small Town Sunday is going to be there from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We are still taking donations for those affected by the flooding and the storms here at Sun Sound Studios. That's in Bessemer City, North Carolina. On either side of 85, it's exit 13, north or south. If you're headed northbound, you're going to take a right off the exit, and it is, I believe, the third road on the right. You'll see the studio here. If you're headed southbound, of course, you can make a left, go back across the exit, and it's the third road on the right. 104 Bright Avenue, Bessemer City, North Carolina. Listen, I hope this has been an encouragement to you today. I know it's been rather lengthy, but I just feel like it's something God wanted to say. And who am I to try to stand in the way of a message of hope? We love you guys. We're praying for you.